Hey, Natasha, thank you for joining us from Melbourne, Florida. Really appreciate you being here. And you got to share your story with me a little bit earlier this week. And it really is a remarkable story. It goes back 20, 30 years or so. So I'm just going to hand the call over to you and maybe just share with everybody kind of where you were when ASEA crossed your path and just what you've noticed here in the time that you've been taking the technology.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Alan. This is an honor for me to be able to share. And, you know, as you alluded to, this really started for me about almost 30 years ago. I was newly in college and, you know, just getting on with life. And I started having these, massive headaches, the kind that, you know, it made me really sensitive to light, sounds, and I would get nauseous with these headaches. And at the time, all I could do was just retreat to my dorm room and kind of wait them out in, you know, silence and darkness. And so that persisted through college. And I would say about 25 years ago, roughly, I started noticing other just weird things started happening in my body. I developed really severe discomfort. And I would just wake up and, you know, randomly my hands would be swollen and stiff to the point where I couldn't ball them up, you know, to make a fist, or my feet and my ankles, you know, would just randomly be swollen. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. It would just come and go, come and go. Well, you know, that continued. And, you know, throughout the years, other things started happening. I started having neurologic issues, involuntary muscle twitching, numbness in my arms and my legs, and really a severe sensitivity to heat and cold. And, you know, I was sent to have my circulation checked and that came back normal. So there again was no rhyme or reason to what was going on in my body. Things kept going and I started having severe dryness in my eyes to the point where they would get bloodshot and just be really, really uncomfortable. My hair started breaking off. I started having ulcers just randomly every, you know, other month or so I'd get ulcers in the roof of my mouth and on my tongue. And you can imagine how difficult that was to live with. You know, all of this led to me having really bad fatigue because I would be lucky, and I mean very lucky, if I got 4 hours of sleep each night. Because of this severe discomfort that I felt, I would hurt so much that I would just be miserable and I'd cry myself to sleep. And that same feeling of discomfort would wake me up in the morning. So I would wake up very lethargic and I had mental brain fog. It was just not my best self that would show up each day, no matter what I tried. And so, you know, things progressed and I even started having difficulty with my breathing and having heart palpitations. And all this time, you know, going to see multiple specialists and being tested, you know, from here to Timbuktu, if you will, and nothing, no diagnosis. Things would get so bad sometimes, Alan, that I'd have to go to the ER to get medical intervention to get some relief. And at least once a year, they would hospitalize me. They would keep me, you know, over in the hospital for treatment. And the multiple specialists that I've seen over the years, they had me on a multitude of medications. And as you know, with medications comes side effects. And so I'd, you know, have to deal with what that brought with them, in addition to everything else that I had already been, dealing with. In the end, I went to the Mayo Clinic. And once again, they did a complete workup to try to get to the bottom of what was going on. And they also came up, they were stumped. They could not diagnose what was going on. But what they did tell me is that my immune system was basically attacking my body from many different angles. And that pretty much had been my life for the past 25 years or so, progressively off and on, these random things happening in my body, more on in the more recent years than off. And so, my dear sweet friend Sade invited me. She was a guest on your call, actually.
Yeah, I remember Sade. Yeah.
Yes. And if anyone on this call does not know her story, please find the video of her testimonial and watch it, because it is extremely powerful. Yeah. And so she invited me to this call to, support her as she was going to share her story and her journey with ASEA. And she's my friend. So naturally, I joined the call to support her. I listened to you present and explain, just as you did a few minutes ago, about the redox signaling molecules. And, I'm fairly intelligent, so I understood it. I got it. It made sense. But as much sense as it made to me and lit up this part of me with hope, because for years I've had, I've prayed so hard, just wanting to find something that could help my body help itself. My family praying for me, my church family praying for me. I thought, wow, this is it. This is it. I found it. But then at the same time, I've had so many things not work for me that I've faced so much disappointment. That side said, this is just going to be another thing that's not going to work. Yeah. But what I had to do, I had to think about my friend Sade, who brought this to me. And because I trust her and I know that she would not bring something to me that would harm me, I said, okay, I'm going to give this a try. So I stepped out on faith and I tried it. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited that I did. I'm really happy, because about 2 weeks into me drinking the liquid, I started noticing that I wasn't crying myself to sleep anymore. That severe discomfort that I had all over my body that would make me just hurt, I wasn't feeling anymore. And it also didn't wake me up every morning anymore. It wasn't my alarm clock anymore. And that alone made it worthwhile to me. But I kept drinking it and I noticed other things improving. And what was really pivotal for me was I was on a call with my mom one day, which that's not unusual. We talk all the time. And she said to me, she said, how you feeling? Because I haven't really heard you say much about, your challenges lately. And I said, well, that's because I feel great. I'm feeling fantastic. And she was like, well, what's going on? Because you see, up until that point, I hadn't shared with anyone that I was using this supplement, because I just didn't want them swept up in another disappointment, if you will. And so when she mentioned that and I told her how I was feeling great, I wasn't having the challenges with the headaches and all the other symptoms as much anymore, that's when I told her what I was drinking and what it was doing for me. And she was ecstatic because, again, she had spent so much time just praying for me to get some relief. But she wasn't the only person who was watching me go through this transformation, if you will. My son, who is now 19, so for most of his life, he has seen me year after year struggle and deal with this. So much so that I've had to lean on my son more than any parent should have to. And I always get emotional when I talk about him. My son has had to help me off of the couch. My son has had to help me get out of the bed. My son has had to walk alongside me as I try to get to the bathroom, because I was unable to do that for myself. And I'm just really grateful that God blessed me with the right kid, he's a young man now, but the right child who would be there for me in such a way and not see it as a burden. And so for him to recognize this change in me and to see me not relying on him as much to do those things, I'm there for myself now. I can do those things for myself. And for him to comment on it and acknowledge it and saying how happy he is for me and how proud he is of me, and that whatever it is that I'm drinking, keep drinking the thing in your blue bottle, Mom, that made it worthwhile. That alone made it worthwhile. And so, I will forever be grateful to Sade, because I feel so blessed that with all of that, another incredible thing, the daily headache maintenance medicine I was on, my neurologist took me off of it. So now, for the first time in decades, I am completely off of all conventional medicines. And so for Sade to think enough of me, to be obedient to God and whisper to me, hey, I have something that I think you deserve to know about, I will forever be grateful to her, because it has truly been life-changing for me. So much so, real quick, before ASEA, I said, I was sick and tired of just existing, and I wanted to start living, and did not want my health to continue to, keep me on the sidelines. So I booked the most epic vacation of all time. I mean, epic, Alan. I went to Dubai. And so that was supposed to happen last year, but everything happens for a reason. The trip got postponed to this year. By the time it came around, I was already loaded up on redox signaling molecules, and I was feeling fantastic. I was able to take the 16-hour flight there. And before I thought, even if I enjoyed just 1 hour of my trip, it would be worth it. I enjoyed every nanosecond of that trip. I mean, I was sand duning. I rode a camel. I ate dinner suspended in the air from a crane. I walked around the World Expo in the Dubai heat for hours, and I did not have to retreat to my hotel room to recover. Every second of that trip was an adventure, and it gave me just an incredible experience. Again, I cannot thank Sade enough for stepping out and sharing this with me, because it truly has been life-changing.
It's absolutely an amazing story, Natasha. And there's so many things I could chat to you all night about this. One of the things I just want to point out, you said to me earlier when we were talking earlier in the week, you said, I was tired existing rather than living. Yeah. And it's like this technology has awoken up your full potential as a human being again, where you're living again. Yeah. I also, Tyler Norton, the founder of ASEA, he says that the true miracle of our product is actually not what's in the blue bottle. It's that person that had the courage to reach out and say, look, I have something you deserve to know about. And Sade is certainly that person of courage. Yeah. I remember Sade very, very well. She has an absolutely amazing attitude and an amazing, amazing ASEA story. Yeah. I guess the other thing I'd just like to point out as we close here is, oh gosh, it gets me emotional thinking about it. But your son never knew this new mom. He only knew the mom that had all the challenges. His entire life.
Yes.
That mom.
Yes.
And he sees this, it's almost like a rebirth.
Yeah.
Somebody he's never really known before. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I get emotional every time I talk about him. Yeah.
Hey, I'm emotional. He's not my kid. So absolutely amazing, Natasha. Absolutely amazing story. I have to say to everybody that ASEA is not a treatment or cure for any disease or medical condition. We are simply empowering our body with more of these molecules, helping our cells signal and communicate the critical messages for health and vitality, so we can live life to our full potential. Can I ask you just very quickly, Natasha, how long are you on the product now, just roughly?
Almost 5 months.
Almost 5 months. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. I love it. Natasha, thank you so much for just sharing your story so passionately, so clearly, of what your experience has been. And it's going to be amazing to just keep watching the journey with you. So thank you, Natasha. Really appreciate your time.